Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Brian. It's nice to see you guys again.
Yes, good to see
Today,
you.
we're going to do a special recording with Jonathan focused on how the two of you met in India and the practices from Isha that Jonathan has incorporated and are so fulfilling in his life right now, incorporated in how he lives, how he does his coaching practice, his hypnotherapy practice. So, Jonathan, do you want to help us understand what took you to India? How did you decide to go there?
So the main reason why I decided to go to India, believe it or not, Brian knows, at some point in my life at that time, which was last year, I thought I was going nuts, crazy.
Mm,
I was starting to feel um, things that I couldn't explain.
mm,
And whenever I wanted someone to teach me what is it that I was experiencing, nobody in my surroundings were able to teach me what is it that I was experiencing.
okay.
So I thought, okay, this is interesting. Um, but by that time, I was already a certified alchemical hypnotherapist.
Mhm,
So I had an idea that it had to be something non-physical that I was actually
mhm,
like being part of or
mhm,
experiencing,
mhm.
but it was too strong. So all of a sudden, it was like a knock in the head. It was like a
A wake-up
and
call from life.
and all of a sudden, the only thing I could think of, it was go to this place. It is called Dhyana Linga, which is a temple, and that is the only thing I could think of. Don't ask me why, because I do not know why. Of all the places that I could have chosen, this place just keep popping on all my social media, everywhere. Um, it was even in the most random places. So I have the tendency to listen to myself when it comes to that stuff, or like to listen to whatever I'm channeling. So that's how I ended up living United States, and I went to India in search for what it's called Dhyana Linga. Now, little did I knew that in order to live inside of this sacred place or ashram, you had to do a process. It's like a process of elimination to see if, first of all, if they are going to accept you living there, um, which I never did because all I knew is I have to go to this place. I didn't even have enough money to go,
Mhm,
actually,
mhm,
at that time. Um, so I told the experience to my girlfriend. I was like, "Hey, listen, I have to go to this place. I only have money for
mhm.
one way trip. I might not come back. Who
You want me
knows?
to come back?
But if you're willing to wait for me, I will come back because I just want to learn something." She encouraged me. She said, "Anything you need, you go."
Mhm,
So I took it as an extra sign.
mhm,
So then I left here, no ticket back, no process of elimination whatsoever. So
mhm,
when I arrived to this place, the ashram, Isha Foundation, they were like, "Oh, welcome. This is it. You're more than welcome to go to the temple, this place, this other place, but um, you cannot live here because you're supposed to apply 6 months before." And at that time, I'm like, "Come on, I just came from
Yeah.
like California to this place. I'm like,
mhm.
this is it for me." They were like, "Yeah, yeah, that's it for you, but you have to have you. I haven't even done like inner engineering at that point, which is some of the requirements that they require you to do." So I remember having a very aggro attitude, and I told them actually, literally, I was like, "Well, I don't know. I was in a very intense energy, so I told them literally, well, you guys call me, so you better help me or like do something about it because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Like you are the ones that were calling me. Now help me." And and that seemed to work. I got an interview so fast, within like the next 3 days. um, so I got an interview. Then I did whatever that it was needed to do. That is pretty much how I learned the sense of urgency. Like whenever you need to do something, you just keep doing it, doing it, doing it. So I did every single step that they told me to do. Then I did a different interview. So I arrived in India in September. By the time I was accepted into the ashram, it was November.
Ooh.
So it was a while. On the meantime, that's when I was living in one of the villages outside of this place. And that's where I ended up meeting Brian. Because
Yeah.
I actually met him in a cafe.
Yeah. Marshall's Cafe.
Yes, Marshall's Cafe, which is an amazing place, actually.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind.
Yeah.
So
Right there next to Jonathan, right up.
exactly, it's like literally so close from that place. It's a long walk, but manageable. I will recommend bicycle, taking the bus, or my favorite choice of transportation there, motorcycle. But yeah, which actually this character plays a huge role in this experience because Marshall, this human, I met him in his cafe while I was staying in one of the hostels or like hotels. But at some point, I was not expecting to be outside of the ashram for that long. So I was actually finishing all my money. So then while going to this cafe, this human Marshall, he goes, well, how much are you paying daily? I was like, hey man, I'm paying like 1,000 and something rupees per day. He goes, oh, you give me that like 2,000, 1,500 or something like that. Some ridiculous amount, like pretty much nothing, right? And then he gave me the opportunity to live with him in his apartment. So I was actually living there with him. If it wasn't for him, I don't know, probably more likely I will be back home. I'll be like, hey, I need an airplane ticket back home because I'm just spending too much. But this guy was extremely helpful. So he offered me a place and I was living with him and I had such an amazing experience. I was living outside the ashram in the villages. And that's when I met Brian. He was there going to the same cafe. But the way we connected was we had a mission. Like the mission was not to go to India to go to this specific cafe. It just so happens that this cafe is so energized that you cannot go to Tamil Nadu without going to this cafe.
That's funny.
And so yes.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, we met there, man. It's so interesting. Like I was going there to heal because I went through some traumatic experiences and also I had watched a lot of Sadhguru videos and I would try the practices on my own. And I kind of thought someday I'll probably just go there. I just had that thought, like I'll probably go there someday. And then, I was in Thailand and I was ready to go somewhere else. And I was like, I'm just going to go there and see if I can heal, see if I can grow, see if I can learn, see what it's about. I wasn't 100% sure about everything, but I did want to explore it. I did want to experience it. I wouldn't say I was called as strongly as you were, like this feeling of I have to go there. For me, it was more like I just made a decision like I need to heal. I think I should go there. Yeah, but man, I want to hear so much about this. So before we get into the inner engineering stuff, which I want to hear your take on that. What's your take on India, on traveling to India, on the Isha Yoga Center there? Would you recommend that other people go all the way to India to experience it? Is it worth it? Was it hard to live in India? Like, what was your kind of experience of that?
So for it is a hard experience for sure. Um, I should also add to that point that India is not like it was like 100 years ago. So now
Mhm.
there's technology there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if let's say for example, if you're a wealthy human, you don't have to go through the hardcore experiences of
Right.
living in places where you only have 1,000 rupees to spend a day. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so many beautiful places that I was also,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so as hard as it can be, it's a very humbling experience.
Mhm.
It's a very
Yeah.
humbling experience.
Yeah.
Now the yoga center itself, that is a place that I will, since I came back, I have always recommended. In fact, I have plans to go back just to visit, not to live again,
Yeah.
not to live there again, but definitely to go back and have someone uh, that is close to me experience it, because it's such an amazing place. Like especially if you're sensitive to dimensions of life that are not physical.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be an expert to just go there and feel something that you've never felt before.
Mhm.
Why? Because we don't have that kind of environment in this side of the globe,
Mhm.
but they do. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
however, for example, there are some humans that are, I know they're not going to enjoy that,
Hmm.
like, they're going to be like, eh. But even if they just go, eh, there's something that is going to ignite within them that they
Yeah.
didn't know about. So that's the whole point. It's such a strong place.
Mhm.
Um, it is so powerful
Mhm.
I
place.
do think sitting in Dhyanalinga, doing like the Surya Kund, which is the bath
Mhm.
that you can dip in with like the copper snakes
Mhm.
That's
before, yeah, before you go into Dhyanalinga, I think it touched me, affected me in ways I was not aware of.
Mhm.
So I think I'm more of a slow learner on this, like the spiritual dimensions. Like it slowly
Mhm.
kind of dawns on me.
Mhm.
Um, at the time when I was there, I had some good experiences with it, but not every time I went in. So it was kind of sometimes it was sort of hit or miss for me. I think I talked to you about that when we were there.
hmm
Mhm.
Um, but I would say since I've left, I feel like something in my aura changed, something, and I feel like it's from that. I do feel like there's been a good something shifted to kind of shift me in a better direction, like over time.
and
Even if I have ups and downs, I feel like something's
yes,
kind of pushing me in a more upward direction. There's sort of a feeling of that.
yes. I mean, nothing becomes like just perfect and still and peaceful after you visit Isha Yoga Center. However,
Yeah,
you like just the fact of like dipping into the Sudrya Kund, like the
yeah,
pool that
Mhm.
they
yeah,
have, which if you actually read what is it about, it dissolves your karmic memory.
Mhm.
So
yeah,
all the nonsense that you didn't know how to take care of by
Mhm.
your own consciousness,
Mhm.
these
yeah,
are kind of places that can take that stuff away for you.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's why you take the dip into this water, and then you go into this place, which is literally, if you talk about it, it looks kind of boring because there's a like a temple which has like a handcrafted dome, but the main
yeah,
thing is like a rock in the
Mhm.
middle,
Erlangen. Mhm.
the Dhyana Linga.
Mhm.
And if you just talk about it, it sounds like quite boring, actually, because there's not
yeah,
much to it.
Mhm.
However, once you are there, you enter this place, and that's what I was saying. Even if you're ignorant to like different dimensions of, you do not know how to access them or whatever, you will feel something, and that feeling you cannot explain. So that makes you wonder, how come only in this place I feel this way? And the beauty of it is that you can take part of it with you. That's what I learned, which is my mission. I wanted to learn something so that I could make sense of what is happening to me on a regular basis, every single day, because every day is so different. So while I was there, once they accepted me, I ended up living with the monks, and I was under their regimen, meaning the wake up times, going to sleep times,
Rigorous.
which I kind of hate. Brian knows I don't like that many rules. But then you, but then you learn all rules are my rules, which is one of the things in inner engineering, and it just makes sense. Within that time, I did a couple like extra programs. One of them was the silence program, which is many days in a row without speaking, no reading, no talking to anyone, no looking at your phone, no nothing, not wondering to see what the birds are doing. So after the third day, it's tricky. It was hard. I've never been in silence for that long in my life. And then I learned, okay, so if you silence the mind, you are more stable. Surprise, surprise. Which is a great experience. Also, some other things that I ended up doing was Linga Seva, which is actually taking care of Dhyana Linga, which is the main temple. And that was a whole different experience in itself. That one, I was going to sleep at like around 11:30, waking up 3:30, taking a cold shower because there's not like hot water where I was staying. It was so the whole day it was all about this Linga place, and it was amazing actually. I learned that there are humans that dedicate their whole lives, just to do exactly the same thing every single day. And when I first got there, I didn't understood. I thought they were stupid, honestly. When I first saw it outside in the villages, I was like, because you see, if you're walking on the villages, you see people like bowing down to like a tree or like a piece of rock on next to the like the highway. They're like doing something. And I thought, okay, I don't know, that looks strange. But after being in close proximity with this place, which is the Dhyana Linga, taking care of it for like, it was like 9 days in a row. You do develop some sense of, okay, this is what these guys do. I know what they feel. And at some point, it was not easy. It was not, it was easy. It was not difficult to just think, oh, wouldn't this be so pleasant just to do this for the rest of my life? It's so pleasant because the energy is so pleasant. It's actually, it can hack your brain. Like it can take away all of your nonsense. And it's so peaceful that you're just like, wow, I could do this. Then me being me, I I decided, okay, now I know that I can feel like this. I know that this is a possibility. So now I don't want to do this for the rest of my life yet. I still have some action in me. I like action, you know. So I decided to just learn as much as I could, like extract every single day. I was extracting for every experience. I was extracting everything, and then I took it back with me, and it's ever since it's been a powerful experience because now every nonsense that starts happening around, or like the unexplainable stuff that was happening in the past, now I have an idea of what I'm actually dealing with,
Mhm.
and I can that's when I use inner engineering, which is a whole different
Mhm.
story. But yeah, I've
Have a suggestion. I wanted to give you the quote that you have at the top of your page at alifedesign.org/Jonathan. You chose this quote and it describes a little bit what you're talking about for your early experience at Isha. The quote from Sadhguru is, "That which is fantastic need not be nice."
which
And
I
so
love that quote.
you were
Yeah.
roughing it. I
I
mean, in
was
a third world country, and people are kneeling before rocks for no reason. And
and
cold
yes.
showers. I mean, things were not nice, but some of it was fantastic for you.
Yes, and even myself, I've noticed that the day I arrived for the first time at this sacred space, I remember how I was treating them, because I'm talking like I was giving them this energy of like, hey, you, I don't know how the fuck you're going to do it, but you're going to help me. Like,
I'm
like you called,
insisting.
I'm like, you call me, and then they were like, whoa, whoa, how do you bring your cell phone into the ashram if you cannot do it? I'm like, well, when I want something, and I learn another thing, I'm like, I'm fantastic, but sometimes I'm not nice, man. Mm,
Well, so
Yeah.
you spent until November in order to really enter into the program there. How long did you stay overall?
I was there from November to the end of December,
Hmm.
pretty much like January, like beginnings of January,
Hmm. And that's
and
when you returned to California?
that's when I returned to California. Yes,
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
and when we're talking where I was staying, there's people from all over the world. Um, and I was not staying in like the nice, because they have villages and stuff. If
Hmm.
you have the means to, you
Hmm.
can still be a volunteer, but you can live like in like more fancy like apartment or something. I
Hmm.
was, because I have no money, I was living like with the all the ex-India convicts, like you name it, like the whole.
Mm.
I was living there with like the whole gang from
Hmm.
all over the world, right?
Hmm.
And it was a rough experience, because I mean, how do you keep yourself peaceful and loving when somebody's farting next to you and like walking on your and walking on your mattress at night? I'm like, it sounds easy, but it was like the perfect test. It's like, okay, you're here to be peaceful. Namaskaram, everybody is love, like, but how do you keep that energy? Like, two guys are burping, the other one is farting, the other one almost took a shit in the middle of the place. Like, you never, like, some things happened, right? But then it was always every single day. It was like it was very hardcore experience. How do I keep myself peaceful? So that's when one of their practices, which is inner engineering, came into place big time. It helped me a lot, actually. Indeed.
That's great. I want to hear more about that, and your experience with it. So I feel like you've gotten lasting effects from it. And I actually never got the chance to do it. I still haven't done inner engineering. I wanted to. But we talked about it, like I couldn't get the in-person class and
Mm,
Hmm.
I didn't want to do it online. I think you actually had to do it online,
yes.
even though you were there, because
Funny thing.
they're they're not that good, honestly, at kind of organizing the in-person classes. It's sort of hard to
Hmm.
arrange them even
Hmm.
when you're there. That's a little bit of a challenge they have, but I feel like you're kind of inspiring me to actually want to do it and take it online. And that's what I told myself. I said, well, if I have to take it online, maybe I'll just do it from some other country anyways. Like, who cares then? You
Yeah, yeah.
know? But um, have you gotten, I believe you have, but talk about, have you gotten lasting benefits from inner engineering? What has that experience been like? How has that changed you? Like, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can give you a couple examples. Yeah, one of, well, to begin with, let's not forget that I ended up doing inner engineering. It was online, even though I
Yeah.
was right outside
Yeah.
of place
Yeah.
where they
Exactly.
teach. I was like,
You're in a
really?
zip code.
I was like,
Yeah.
I am like literally 10 minutes away from you guys. And they were like,
Yeah.
no, the next one is until December in person.
Yep.
So I had to end up doing it online. I was like, okay, fuck it. I'll do it online then. So I ended up doing inner engineering inside of a kind of like a hostel, hotel looking place. What I did ended up doing though was, because I was already there, I made sure that the practice, just the way I was doing it, I made sure that I went for corrections. Uh, so like, let's say, because you do it online, right? So you do not know if
Yeah.
you're doing it the right way or not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they do have their like um, humans that can correct your position if you're not doing it the right way. And I was expecting so many corrections. I was like, let's see how this goes. And to my surprise, and I can say this, I have no corrections. So it seems like it
That's
works if
awesome.
you do it online. As long as you follow the process, you'll be fine.
That's
Um,
awesome.
long term, benefits. Oh, it has five main aspects in our engineering, which is something that I always wake up to. One of them is, you are not the body, you are not even the mind. That's a pretty much basic, it sounds like. The second one is, this moment is inevitable. It can only be the way it is. So once you take that like a spoon in the morning, this
Yeah.
moment is inevitable. It can only be the way it is. You cannot change it. You cannot, right now, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am responsible for everything. That one was a huge one for me, because you're like, come on, how come I am responsible for everything? For everything. And surprise, surprise, you are. Oh. So I'm responsible for everything. All rules are my rules. That's a huge one also. When you take into consideration, especially this country, like United States has so many gay rules. I mean, like nonsense rules, like,
Yeah.
so I needed something like that to make sense of this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So once you take
Yeah.
into consideration all rules are my rules, then I wake up, and it's one of the first things that I have to like process. So then I can go through my day peacefully, because now I know, okay, somehow I promoted this rule. Right now, we're not going to go into why, but this rule is my rule. So, okay, speed limit 25 miles per hour, fine, no problem.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
can go peaceful through those scenarios,
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the last one is, I am a mother to the world, which is something that I usually switch into, I am a father to the world. I don't know if Sadhguru will agree with, but I play with
Yeah.
two of them. I fluctuate between those two.
Yeah.
Um, but that gives you a lot of compassion, because at the end of the day, if you see through that lens, you cannot
Yes.
end end up being mean to someone just because you feel like it. Like
Yeah.
it just it takes away all of the nonsense and puts you in a responsible position, and then
Yeah.
it makes your day way better. And that's what I'm saying. Before actually understanding, and while I was living there, which is again third world country, I mean, it was the first time in my life when I was wiping my ass with my left hand, because in
Yeah.
the where I was living,
Yeah.
they didn't have like a toilet paper, so you have to use like the old school system, which is
Yep.
water and stuff. So
Yep.
all those little scenarios multiplied times like 1,000, and the
Yeah.
insects and like the snakes and the monkeys, everything. Um, and still be peaceful and smiling, and not for the sake of like just like smiling, but like genuinely like being like, oh, look at this flower, isn't it such a fucking beauty, this one, the blue
Yeah.
one, the lotus
Yep.
one there. So that helped a lot. Now bringing that into my present, it was extremely useful. It is to this day extremely useful, which is what I went there to look for. So not only did I learn what I wanted to learn, but I apply it to my present time. So it allows me to like, it's like surfing the waves instead of like being crushed by them, you know, like now I can surf. And it helps big time, like a lot.
So
Yeah.
interesting.
I
When
agree.
people
Yeah.
have an
Go ahead.
ashram experience, even if it's 10 days of silence or whatever it is you're going to do, an intensive of some kind, you went for months, it breaks you down in ways you don't anticipate. Like you say, being around other people that are rude or discourteous or stepping over you, they're working through their stuff and they're disrupting you, and you get to manage your own disruption. You don't get to say, hey, asshole, get out of my way. You don't get to
Yep.
do that. And
Yep.
so all of that breaking down, and it's 24/7. It's
Non-stop.
unrelenting. It's unrelenting, the breaking down, the breaking down, the breaking down. And then it's like suddenly you shed that skin and you're like, I can see the beauty. He's not a jerk to me anymore. I can see the beauty around me. I can carry my peace with me because I choose to. I don't need the world to organize itself to my pleasing, and then I'll be happy. I can carry my happiness even in what seems to be a disordered world. You know, you're not.
Now there's a fine line there that I also learned,
Mhm,
because even the monks, they're extremely zen and like
mhm.
namaskaram and peaceful, but if you mess with them, there's consequences. Okay. So something that I learned is, yes, you should go through all your life experience with an attitude of like namaskaram, but if somebody pokes you, do not hesitate to punch them back, because the poking is not accepted. No,
Yeah.
no,
Mhm,
there's like a fine line, because it will always happen at some point. It will happen. It's
mhm,
not like it will never happen. It
mhm,
will happen. So you
mhm,
have to like also use your energy sometimes for to protect yourself in a
mhm,
way.
mhm,
Uh, so I learned that from the monks as well. You cannot just be all uh, love and stuff in a situation when you need to be a little
Tougher.
uh,
Mhm,
tougher. That's
Yeah.
the right perfect word to use.
mhm,
Um, Another experience that blew my mind before I forget is while I was working inside the Dhyanalinga temple, I was taking care of this stone, which is called like the offering stone. It's right in front of the Dhyanalinga.
mhm,
And the whole mission was, the monks said to me, the brahmacharis, they said, do not let anybody touch this stone. Whatever they do, do not let them touch it. So I had just one mission that day. And it was not one of my best days. I was actually quite irritated because I was managing like waking up at 3:30 a.m. and then going to sleep at 11:30 and then having to deal with all this stuff. And then on top of that, my own nonsense.
Sure.
So that day was not my best day. I had better days. Uh, but the whole mission was, do not let anybody touch this stone. And then you have all these humans coming from all over the world and all over these other villages. And it seems like all they want to do is touch this stone. uh, so I had this energy, like a fire inside me, which I was unconsciously channeling, or sometimes consciously channeling into like, guys, I like, no, just, you do not get to touch this stone. Just, yeah, you can come back if you want, but like, just move. Uh, Come on, just guiding people. Just don't touch this stone. surprise, surprise, when I was at my most supercharged, like I'm about to break down point because everybody wanted to touch the stone. Uh, they started bowing down and touching my feet instead of touching the stone, which is something that, again, I learned you can go from being about to break down on anger to like now what you're going to do. And actually, I almost fainted that day because it was so strong. I have family. I have the father, the grandpa, the mother, everybody trying to touch my feet, and I was like, "What in the fuck?" So I had to looking for like help. So I was looking for like a monk or something, and there's this brahmachari woman, and then I look at her and I'm like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do here? This is too much." And then she goes, "No, just let them." So I had my first experience. It was generations of from like older to kids, and then I was like, wow, I've never had anybody bowing down to my feet before. And then I learned that I had a dark side because because my old namaskaram self, my peaceful self, was like, no, no, please don't do this. Like, please don't even. But then my dark side was, I look around and then I was looking like, hey, you haven't bowed down to me. You come back.
That's funny.
Don't you see these others that get who I
Yeah, I was like, hey, you.
That's funny.
So I had to process all those. I was like, okay, no wonder why I'm not there yet. But like, it was an experience for sure.
So
That's
amazing.
awesome, man. That's a very cool experience. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And
So
that's
Brian, I have something I want to bring you in about.
Okay.
You didn't have the same kind of calling that Jonathan did, but you did have I need to go to India. Let's make this happen, coming out of Thailand. And so let's just see what happens there. I'm going to go to Isha Dalalinga and we'll just see what happens. So, and it was a one-way ticket for you also. And yeah, the one-way ticket to India Club. And then whatever happens after that, we'll handle it then. When we know that the India time
Yeah.
is complete, we'll handle that then.
Yeah.
And but you put this quote on our website because as you were going through this experience in India, coming out of Thailand, we were building this business, ALifeDesigned.org.
Yeah.
And you had us put on the website this quote from Sadhguru: "I'm not driven, I'm the driver."
Mhm.
Both of you drove yourself to Isha. Both of you were the driver in your life. You took that steering wheel and you said, next stop, India. And then you handled what came to you there. Do you want to speak to that?
Um, what do I want to say about that? So for me personally, I really don't care about society's opinions or other people's opinions almost at all.
Mhm.
I really almost don't care at all. And I know that's not normal, but I mean I truly don't. I truly don't care. Like and it's just because the reason why that happened is I realized in my mind there's a million things wrong with our society, and once you see that much of it, you're like, bye.
Mm,
You just leave. Like there's no I'm not we're not gonna fix all this.
mhm.
This is like I'm done. So and I left and I told you I'm not coming back.
Mhm.
And everywhere I've been is better than the US in my opinion, but I'm not hating. We all have our things. It's
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
Maybe if the country cleans up a whole lot, I'll come back. But yeah, but I don't know. I also just realized like you do have to live on your own terms and live the way you want to live. Otherwise, what's the point?
Mhm.
And I think part of the reason I know that is
Mhm.
because I've been very bitter in my life. I have had times where I've been very depressed. I have had times where I've been suicidal. So I really do understand, like, no. No, like you cannot live like that. Like, no. You have to live in a way that you enjoy. Otherwise, there is literally no point to your life. It's not going to work. I'm very clear on that. I don't like, so I think that's part of why I have such clarity on that. Like, I'm not like, oh, I gotta fit in. I'm like, no, that doesn't even occur to me. I literally cannot even think that way. Um, so, and actually this leads me into stuff I want to talk to Jonathan about. So I learn a ton from Sadhguru, Jonathan, but he also triggers me. So, no, he does.
All
There's
the best
times,
teachers do.
and that's the point. I think Sadhguru wants to be that type of teacher, like the type that triggers you. There's times I watch a Sadhguru speech and I'm like, really, dude? Fuck that. No,
Fucking old man. What does he know?
yeah,
I've
no,
had those
fuck
stuffs.
that. Yeah. I'm like, this, you're so brilliant, like all these other times, but this, fuck that, dude. So, like, that leads me to this thing. Do you think of Sadhguru as your guru, or do you think? Because I think you're more advanced in the Sadhguru practices than me. So I actually want this video to be more about you, but I can talk about my experiences a little bit and stuff. But do you think of Sadhguru as your guru, or do you think it's better to not have a guru, kind of go your own path? I wonder how you handle that or how you feel about that part.
I see. Well, I have an answer to that question.
Okay.
So before I left United States to go to India, I was aware that the word guru means that which dispels the darkness.
Yeah.
So when I arrived to Asia, I was looking for some light into some areas that nobody else could teach me. So
Yeah.
obviously this guide was throwing light into all this, especially like death. For
Yeah.
me, that's a huge one. I mean, I was born the Day of the Dead in Mexico. As you know, it's
Oh,
a big
wow.
celebration. So
Yeah.
like I have that ingrained. So I've always had a great relationship with death. I never understood why people around me were always like making such a big deal out of it. I was always comfortable, but well, actually, no, not always. When I was younger, that is how it started. I was extremely uncomfortable to the point that I had to become extremely comfortable.
Okay.
But yeah, at some point, I was. Now that I remember, it's important. I was terrified. Okay, I was extremely terrified of the idea of like
Yeah.
just. I was just like looking up, and then thinking about to go to sleep, and then I'm like 5 year old, and I'm like, fuck. If I close my eyes forever, everything is going to be dark. My
Yeah.
dog is not going to be there. My father is not going to be there. My mother's.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fucked. This is horrible. Who
Yeah.
was the creator of this thing? God sucks.
Yeah.
um, it was so dramatic. Even one time I was in vacations. Imagine being at the beach, hanging in the, how do you call it? Hammock?
The
Yes.
hammocks. Yeah.
Hanging in the hammock, looking at the stars, everybody in the family, and then the only one thinking, hey, what's going to happen when I'm dead? It's me thinking while looking at the stars when I'm like 4. And then they're
Yeah.
like, Jonathan, you're on vacations. Like, come on, man. I'm like, no, you guys don't think. That's how it started. I was always like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. You don't care. You do not want to prepare for the big game. You do not
Yeah.
want to train for the big game. Okay, that's on you.
Yeah.
You're wrestling with the existential questions of life and death at 4, at 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously that initiated something. So
Mhm.
then I
Yeah.
find this guy, and now do I consider him my guru? I will say I consider him a guru. Um,
Mm.
one of my gurus, not the only,
Okay.
not like the ultimate,
I see.
because he has some light on things that only he can throw light in my experience.
Yeah. Okay.
But is he going to teach me specific things or like throw me light on like seduction or like other things? Who knows? Actually, you never know. This guy is
Yeah, yeah.
his teachings
Yeah.
are like sometimes are like underground, man.
Yeah.
But definitely one of my gurus. Yes, definitely a guru for sure. And
Awesome.
especially because it is one thing to look at someone through the screen and like YouTube
Mhm.
videos and
Yes.
podcast, but when you see the same human in person, you cannot, I cannot make this up. When I saw him drive the fucking Jeep,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm, I didn't make a mistake. I came here to see what I wanted to see. Now I know it's real and this is it. Like, especially for men to men, when you see this guy, there's something that you cannot explain. And I mean, I've seen athletes, you name it, all, but like,
Um,
or like myself in the mirror. But even that, it's like, even Jonathan at the gym with all of his like,
As
I'm like,
magnificent as that is.
exactly as magnificent as that looks like. I was like, nah, this guy is something else, and that is extremely rewarding because you make the right move. Like you were there
yeah.
for the right reason. But yes,
Yeah,
definitely a guru,
dude.
sure.
Awesome. So here's my question for you. We talked about this a little bit when we were in India, and I told you that my perception of the volunteers at the ashram at Isha was I felt like some of them, a few of them, the practices were working really good for. Like I saw like the joy on their face. I saw the attitude.
Mm,
I was like, oh wow, I want to be like you. But then there was a bunch of them where I was like, eh, you know what I mean? I'm not really trying to be like you. Like I'm just not really like I can just be me. That's fine. Like so like and I talked to you about this. Did you have the same perception and also why do you think these spiritual practices really work for some people, but for other people, it seems like they're not working as much? Do you
I
have
see. I
a
have
theory and an
an idea.
opinion? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have an idea because while I was there, I met all kinds of humans, like meaning um, professions, what they do for a living. Um,
Yeah.
you name it, boxers, uh, lawyers, um, doctors, biologists, uh, PhD this, PhD, like all the things that you cannot even make up, they were there.
Yeah.
What I've noticed was that the ones you're talking about, which are the ones that are really walking like they're in like some kind of like different dimension or like a different universe, like
Yeah.
in one, you see the faces of wonder, like you look at them looking at the cows and they're like, you're like, oh, I want to be like this one. Look at the way
Yeah.
he's smiling with the.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are able to shut down their intellect, like
Yeah.
their thought process. It's off. It's
Yeah.
off because I mean not completely off, but it's put in the place where it should belong, which is
Yeah.
like the most basic level. Like you use
Yeah.
your intellect to know this is sharp, this is not sharp. This can kill me. This should be fine. But you're not
Yeah.
have it on all the time questioning like why do sitting in front of a rock will make me feel good. Like if you go in with even if you have the best of intentions, but you have that thought process, there's going to
Yeah.
be frictions
Yeah.
and I've met volunteers that wanted to go beyond that, but they were not there yet.
Yeah.
But they were willing to. That's why they were volunteers, and those are
Yeah.
probably the ones that you saw that they were like, what, like, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Uh, but
That's a good theory. That's a good theory. Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, even while having like a tea or coffee with them, you can tell, like if you start talking to them, you start noticing like the ones that put their intellect aside and just allow themselves to experience the actual, like just to feel the experience or to be immersed into the bubble, energetic bubble that they are in. Those are the ones that are, it's so easy. And I notice even within myself, some days I will be looking at it, let's say some days, for example, I will be just sitting there looking at a lotus flower and I will be like extremely mesmerized.
Yeah.
Like literally not any other thought but me, and it was like a
Yeah.
whole relationship. And
Yeah.
I'm sure those are the moments that everybody that goes there are looking for.
Yeah.
But there were times, again, there were times that I was still a volunteer and I was like, what the fuck, this guy again? I'm like, do you have fucking diarrhea or something? Can you just go to the corner right there?
Yeah.
Or like let's say
That's
you turn off the because this place is like imagine like a huge basketball court, like everybody's sleeping on the floor, and then imagine you have many fans on the top. Let's say where you're sleeping, I turn my fan off, right? And then it's the middle of the night, and you wake up because you feel like cold, and then there's like this fan is like on level 5, and you're like, okay, fine, you go, you turn it off. 5 minutes later, somebody turn it on. 3 minutes later, off. 4 minutes later, somebody like it's like
yeah.
a complete fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
And then you have to wake up
That's
at 3:30 and still go with your whole day.
which
Joyfully.
To the temple. Yeah.
I don't think I could do all that. I wish I could, but I think that's a very good answer. I mean, if you look at I don't know if you're familiar with Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. There is a statue of Patanjali at Janalinga or Patanjali. You know the at Janalinga on the outside,
Uh-huh.
he's depicted as a human head and torso, but a snake lower body.
Yeah, that guy.
That's Patanjali. Yeah.
Yes.
The
So he
father
wrote
of
the
yoga philosophy.
I had to wash him once.
Did you?
It's a whole lot of
I
work, man.
gave Patanjali a bath once. Yeah.
Yes. I
That's
gave that guy a
awesome.
bath, yes.
That's awesome.
At night. And then I was wet, and then I had to fall asleep wet.
So his main thesis, his main teaching in his work that he wrote called the Yoga Sutras is yoga occurs when mental modification ceases. Like basically when thoughts stop, that's when you get into a state of yoga or a state of union. So I do think you're right. It's mainly the thoughts that are in the way, because you can see that as constant fluctuations, you know? So that creates instability, and it gets in the way of those, I guess you could say, mystical experiences or experiences that are kind of a different dimension.
Yeah. Like becoming the flower, for me, that was a huge
Yeah.
one. And then how do you explain to someone, oh, I can be the flower if I want to? Or they were gonna be like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Are you eating special flowers right now, or what?
They're gonna be like, what flower were you smoking that day? And then to their surprise, it's going to be like that day for that month, not even nothing, like not even a cigarette, no alcohol. Like that's the whole point. Like
Yeah.
not no sex, nothing. Which to me that's the hard one actually. I was missing it.
Yeah.
But even then, because you're so involved into this, it's like a bubble, energetic bubble. It's so easy not to. That's the whole point. It was easier, like not to have like thoughts that are coming because they're not near. Like
you don't have the distractions of a modern world. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like its own microverse, like a mini universe.
Yeah. And there is no teenager walking on like skirts showing their asses, so you don't have to like put your
Yeah.
attention back into yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have one more
So,
quote. Oh,
okay.
sorry, Brian.
Yeah.
Oh, the quote I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to share was looking up to do this video with you today. I thought this quote was the embodiment of what we're hoping to accomplish at ALifeDesigned.org. So Sadhguru said, the greatest fulfillment in life is to do something which is much larger than yourself. And so, Jonathan, because you're on our platform, Brian, because you're doing the work on the platform, the work that I do, our collection of coaches and contributors, we're all aligned to doing something greater than ourselves. And so I love that quote from Sadhguru. So Brian, go ahead. You had a thought?
Okay, yeah, it is a good quote from Sadhguru. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think inner engineering is the only practice someone needs? Like if they want to get on a spiritual path, if they just did inner engineering for the rest of their life, no other chants, no other meditations, no other prayers, no other anything, do you think that's like good? Like that's fulfilling, like that's enough?
If you are not, uh, if your desire is not to go like full time, like let's say becoming a monk or like a
Yeah,
nun or like
Mhm.
or like a brahmachari or something like that, then
yeah,
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
that's more than enough. It
Mhm.
is
Nice.
more than enough.
I like that.
Now, if you really want to, which I was actually thinking, who knows, at some point in my life, I might get tired of so many orgasms, physical ones, that I might want to just become a brahmachari. You never know, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
was actually thinking at some point it will be fun to just go, just to see how much you can play with different dimensions.
yeah,
That would be a different story. But just for like a regular, like for this existence, like the physical one, if you
yeah.
introduce if you introduce inner engineering to your like regular physical life, that is way more than enough.
Awesome. That's very good. I like that. So, Mom, did you have any more questions or
Well, no, I just love that you're an example, Jonathan, that you followed your
yes?
passion to India to get the answers you were seeking. I mean, so many stories of people have been on a spiritual path and they knew they had to go find a teacher or go to a temple or go to a church or go to a holy place. And you had the courage to say, I'm going. The rest
and
is not making sense. I'm going. And we'll see
Mhm.
if when I get there it makes sense. And for you, it did. So this
and
victory
just
that you
yeah,
have.
and just for the record, I did ended up getting food poisoning. I almost died,
No.
but but that doesn't mean that every place is the same. I just wanted like the real hardcore experience. So I was eating like street food, like the hardcore street food. Okay.
Yeah,
But there are places where you can go and they're like restaurants and people wash
yeah,
their hands and they cook and there's like plates and stuff. But
Mhm,
I was like, I wanted to experience like the hardcore things.
mhm.
And when I arrived to Isha, they were like, they're like, oh, we're going to have to like put you in, how do they call it when they put stuffs into your veins and shit?
Vaccinate you or
No, no,
no,
no, no. Oh,
to give you
actually,
fluids
when it
into
comes to, yes, that one. No, when it comes to vaccination, they did ask me, and of course,
yeah,
everybody that knows me knows the answer to that one. I was like,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you
but
needed
no, no.
IV fluids, IV.
Yes, they were like, we're gonna have to put you here because you need to be like,
You're dehydrated.
that was inside. Yeah, that was inside Asia, and then I said, no, I hate that stuff. I was
Mhm,
like, just, and then I said to the doctor inside Asia,
mhm,
actually, I told him, do not do that to me. Just give me something so that I do not vomit. And
mhm,
if tomorrow I still cannot drink water, then
mhm,
I'll come to you. And then you do everything you want to do, then
mhm,
you do. So
mhm,
he was like, are you sure? I was like,
mhm,
yes, I can
mhm.
handle it. Just give me something so that I don't vomit.
The Ipecac
So,
or something. Mhm,
so he did give me something. And oh my God, surprise, surprise. After 4 days of not being able to drink water or eating food,
mhm.
because the water and food was coming out of my every hole
Mhm.
that I have in my body. Okay, it
Wow.
was nasty.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
but this guy goes, okay, fine. So he ended up listening to me. He gave me something so that I didn't vomit. And the next day, I was like, hey, thank you. I came back to say thank you,
Mhm.
which is inside Isha, which they have an amazing team of doctors and stuff, and they don't charge you for it, which is something that I appreciate.
Mhm.
And also the villages, the way they take care of the kids on the villages and stuff, that's
Mm.
fucking amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, so your courage and then the difference it's made in your life, and you brought it back with you to your life in California, and it impacts the work you do as a coach, the experience of your life itself.
Mhm.
You know, it's just a beautiful success story that we wanted to feature in this video today.
definitely.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. And I do think, just kind of adding on some final notes here, I do think you gotta have the courage to just do what you want to do.
Mhm.
There's always going to be obstacles or people who say that you can't, or whatever. You just got to be like, man, you,
Oh
you
yeah.
just gotta, yeah, it's the only way you really get things done. So, just final thoughts. So, Jonathan's, I think you're saying in your experience, inner engineering is very good for enabling you to be able to deal with kind of people and the craziness of modern times. So, I think you would probably definitely recommend it to other people for that reason. Is that
And
true?
and as yes and yes, and I will add based on my experience, like talk about channeling higher self or different
Yeah.
dimension of you, it will, even if you do not know what is happening, it will start promoting a connection to a dimension of life that is non-physical, which is the whole point.
Yes.
As a consequence, inevitably, you're going to feel more. It's like the like all the noise, it
Mhm.
Mhm.
drops dramatically,
Mhm.
and then from there
Mhm.
you can keep experimenting. But definitely, it helps a lot when it comes to like for someone that has like anxiety and stuff.
Mhm.
This is like the holy grail that everybody is being looking for.
Mhm.
Now, does humans want to do it? It takes like half an hour of your day,
Mhm.
and it's not that pleasant because we all know how it goes.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's way better than other um, the alternatives that are out
Mhm.
there
True.
because I have experienced it, so I know it works.
Great. Well, that's awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to share about inner engineering or India or your spiritual growth that you felt?
India. About India, I think it's a beautiful place where humans are connected to different dimensions of life, and you can see it everywhere. Even
Mhm.
the way they drive, they're like encommended to some higher power because they wouldn't drive like
Yes.
that if they were not
Yes.
so sure of what they're doing, man. That's crazy.
Yes.
Um, um,
That's so true. Yes. They go within inches of each other on motorcycles.
I've
Yeah.
never seen that in my life.
Yeah.
Well, you both overcame obstacles to go to India, and you met in Coimbatore at Isha Center. And our community at ALiFeDesigned is better for it. So thank you both.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is
Mhm.
this is an experience of what you get inside a live design. So come
Mhm.
on, check it out. You might like it.
Yeah, thank you.
For
Well,
sure.
we'll find you on TikTok. We find you on Instagram. We'll put all those references in the show notes. And then, of course,
That's
lifedesign.org/Jonathan. They can find
beautiful.
all your social media there and connect with you one-on-one for coaching. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your stories of Isha.
Absolutely. It was great. It's great to hear your perspective, man.
Hey,
Thanks. Well, until the next time.